Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another discussion with me and Joanna. This one's rather off the cuff, given some things that we've seen in the past couple of days that seem to be, in my opinion, are mirroring each other. Again, if people pay close enough attention to the patterns, where some things have lost momentum, while other things have not. One of the things that angered me last night was I'm not going to name any shows or anything like that. I'm not even into that for Patreon audience. Just know that these were news reports, and these were anything that was talking about this UFO report that has just come out. And the way the government likes to diffuse it, they'll put it out there and they'll pull the rug out from under people by just have somebody make fun of it. This isn't the first time that this has been done. Uh, Quite a while ago, when they had that Roswell report that came out many years ago, if people recall that from back in the 90s. And later on, they did another smaller one later on in history. People forget about these, where each time they'll do something like they're going to act all serious, then they'll make fun of it in some fashion, piss a bunch of people off, and then the whole thing just goes under the rug again. And this is with this one, it's no different. They've been toting these particular Navy UFO files around quite a bit about the little pill-shaped UFOs and stuff like that forever and ever. To me, that is like the Loch Ness monster of the UFO files. Eventually, they show something enough, people get sick of seeing it, and they run it into the ground. This is another tactic they like to use. They flood the market with one thing, people get sick of seeing it, and then it's made fun of, and then it goes away again. And when you think certain people are not involved on some even minuscule level, they are. If you think they're not involved, they are in some way. And some of some of the news where they're making fun of this stuff, they're participating, whether it's known or unknown. And it's the same pattern. I'm recognizing the same pattern over the past 20 years. They put the report out, then they flood the market with it. They make fun of it. They retract. And so in this instance, this calls for ultimate discernment. Are certain things going away, or aren't they? I believe some are. I believe the energies are bringing things out in the open, but yet I'm still seeing the same old tactics from 20, 30 years ago. And this is upsetting because sometimes then I feel like it's not going away. And I know we've been told that there are going to be pockets of this for decades that people have to be fishing out. People always feel we're talking about white hat, black hat when I say something like that on Interstellar Council. What I'm saying is there's still going to be these pockets of running into cabal agendas and different pockets of them, like in some mountain base or something like that, to where where people will have to discern whether that needs to remain or needs to stay, sort of thing. And that's what I'm meaning by that.
So I think, Chris and I were trying to, think what would the title be of this. And honestly, I think what we're really trying to talk about right now is the difference between us, the difference between persons like you that have been working on discernment and really looking at what we have always referred to the strategies being employed, and what do you do, or how does it make you feel when you actually see the infiltration, when you actually are aware of it. And it can be being done on so many different levels right now that, again, this is, and we've been saying this for years now, this is an endurance test. This truly is an endurance test. And then what is your role and responsibility within it when you see it? Because again, it is known and expected that there will be people who see it. Okay, it is known and expected. So if you think that you're beginning to see something and you're thinking no one knows or expects for you to see it, you're mistaken. because it is a true expectation of those running this agenda to know that there will be. Now, part of, again, a strategy would be, how do we get under those people's skin who are starting to see it in order to get them to trip themselves up? Because the frustrations will build, the anger will build, the desire to see a change more quickly, and if not, to cause discontent within inside yourself. All of these are actually strategies that are being employed for when you become aware of something and are feeling either a responsibility to act, or trying to figure out, maybe I shouldn't act or engage. I just need to move away to try and decide, what are you supposed to do about it? And this is now facing a lot of people. The goal of the agenda from, let's say, the side that's running this wants to see you implode. I'm just flat out. And they are masters at what they do to entangle you within it, to get you to maybe have flashbacks of potential problems in the past that will cause a flashback now, an entanglement back to somewhere else where you're not at peace with, and they're going to entangle you back in that as well, to keep your anxiety, to keep your angst, to keep your anger going. Okay, so it's being employed, and it's being employed at a time where people are feeling tired. I'm absolutely tired. You can't hear it in my voice. I've been struggling a month now with illness, and it's wearing me down. So, I try to at least be mindful that I am physically worn down, to try and not let myself engage so much into something because I know I'm vulnerable at this moment in time. So, it's a very interesting story. I think we have a few examples all across the area of things that would potentially put you in this state, and then the discussion of, what do you do about it? So I think it's hard to know where to start first. So it really came to Kritz's attention last night, because not only did they, again, were having a discussion over something that many people find very serious, they were joking about it kind of at the same time. Although the interesting thing within the joking, within the bantering or whatever, very real information was being put out, very real information. But if you got caught up in they're making fun of my viewpoints, they're making fun, you wouldn't even have heard the valid stuff. So again, it's always an interesting tactic of real information being mixed up into, information that's being put out in a way to kind of poke fun at people, or to kind of, try to sway people who aren't as aware to not take certain things seriously. The one thing that I try to point out, especially if you're having flashbacks of things that have happened before, please be aware that the energies are not the same and people are not the same. So the attempts to sometimes repeat history when it's working, it will keep repeating until it doesn't work.
Until people see this particular pattern. This particular tactic has been used multiple times, and I've seen it repeatedly because I'm looking for it. Some people aren't. It's just on the particular show we're watching, I did not expect to see it. And I found it, to me, it was very hurtful. It denigrated what we do. And the thing of it is, now is humor a good thing? Yes, it's a very good thing. But it's also being used as a weapon of ridicule as well. And that's when it goes into its dark side. And yeah, was there some meaningful stuff said there? Yeah, before, a very tiny amount embedded in a bunch of ridicule. is what it was. Like basically just one little nugget amongst the larger amount of ridicule. People then see it as this big joke, and then it fades back into history. The idea is not to allow it to fade back in history.
But there's also, again, humor is also used as a coping mechanism. And sometimes when very serious things come up, being silly about it and using humor about it does help diminish certain anxieties that then you can sit back and those anxieties have dissipated and you can continue to look at it. That's where I say the energies have changed. So, I think part of some of the issues that we as a group have to be aware of are our own vulnerabilities to things where we're seeing something that's triggering an old event. And when something old gets triggered, you may go into this, it's going to go down the same way it went before. Okay, it's a normal human response. Is that really going to happen? I think, well, I don't know. And again, and I don't want to give any energies to it will. So I always choose to put energies to it won't occur. If it was something that was used, that this is not going to continue, the pattern's not going to continue. It's not easy. I'm not saying this, but we're having this kind of frank discussion about this because this, again, we're in an endurance test and many of us are a bit worn, okay? Again, you have false timetables. I'm sorry, everyone's heard of the false timetables, the mythos that were out there of how fast this should be moving along. The revaluation of the money should have occurred by now. The tribunals, why aren't we hearing about those yet? Why aren't they official? Why aren't they this? Why aren't they that? Because you were living in a mythos of things that you were potentially hoping were going to happen that aren't necessarily
to keep you hooked on it,
to keep you hooked on it, that aren't necessarily going to come down the way that you want. You wanted by now everybody who was complicit to now gain punishment for their complicit actions. That is a very human, normal response to so many years of this, but guess what ain't happening? Okay. And so part of you can say, okay, they told me there's a good chance it won't go down that way, but I still don't want to believe that. Okay. And so you can hear it, but what is now playing out is still against what in your mind or even in your heart, again, what you feel is just. So again, carrying that righteous, justice-based, and again, none of us are exempt.
And see, it's a form of a bias. It's a form of a bias that instead of people are thinking, oh, I know in my heart that good will win over evil. Well, that is also an old, very old program. And I will say why. Yes, will everything eventually have to balance out? Of course.
But that's what it is.
But yeah,
it's a balancing out because we already went down the toilet. Evil one.
We already went down the toilet.
We already went down.
Yeah.
So now the balancing out is the other flip side of the coin to gain the experience of moving through a pivotal time when you would set the course of the evil winning out again. And that's where we're at. The importance of the awareness, the importance of, your reaction to things when you see them. Again, what are you giving your energies to? And it's very hard at times not to be giving your energies to the feeling of let down, the feeling of disappointment, all normal feelings, but are you staying there? Are you staying there? And if you're getting to the point, honestly, where your answer is, I wish half the population were off the earth, okay, and sometimes violently, you know what I mean, and you're getting stuck there, then you're no better than the cabal. The energies is still there as far as a depopulation.
There is a reason that they made the character of Thanos in Marvel with that particular mentality. Taking out half the population restores balance. That's what his character was encompassing, was that cabal idealism. And this is also what people are forgetting in other countries, especially when it comes to the bad side of the vaccines and everything. They're wondering why more children are being sacrificed over that of older people. That's a depopulation move. Yeah. Are there a lot of people out there that are incredibly irritating? Yes, I run into them on a constant basis. I run into it constantly. And do I wish they were not around us anymore? Yes, I do. Um, and do I wish they would compartmentalize their energetic eruptions to themselves? Yes. But it doesn't seem to always work that way. But one thing I do get tired of is getting bombarded with their thought forms, knowing or unknowing, because it injures me and it opens portals on our property. When you think something, there's an old metaphysical phrase: thoughts are things. When you connect like that, you are opening a door, and it can wreak havoc on wherever you open, especially if you're connected to something you don't know what you're connected to already through other entanglements. You're dumping that on someone else, even by so much as focusing your intentions on them. And this has happened quite a bit lately, and also through media as well. Through, like, say, if you're watching something live, you're feeling the energetics of those people doing that very thing. Also, one last thing on that point, with this new variant that's come out, I've sensed the same level of fear as was in 2020. And hasn't been as long, it's been coming in intermittent blips, but people are revving up because they believe so strongly that there's going to be another set of lockdowns. So therefore, they're creating it. The idea this time around, if they try it again, is to say no to it and to not have your fearful thought forms towards something like that. Like, oh my God, you can't go through this again. Well, don't allow it. Do not allow these things to happen.
Right. You just say, no, it's not going to happen.
No,
and there's no, I think,
and do
again,
not generate that fear.
Do not generate the fear, say, no, it's not going to happen. And don't give another alternative in your mind.
Mhm.
It's like the answer is no. It is no. There is nothing else. The answer is no. We've done it once, not doing it again, going to move forward. And if everyone were able to develop that type of intention, it would not occur, period. It couldn't occur. So again, we're a work in progress with how we learn to function ourselves in life with the co-creative process. Now it's difficult. So I'm going to, again, since we brought up, again, the vaccines, and we brought up conflicting agendas related to what's been going on in the past year, finally, people, it has been very difficult in the United States, I'm sure around the world, but I'm only going to speak of the United States right now. It has been very difficult in the United States for people in positions of true knowledge and understanding, very well revered people, to bust through with information and conversation if it did not match the few that were given the public spotlight as far as running an agenda. Now, again, I think we said to you before in another talk that this is 40 years in the making, 40 years plus in the making, to get the right people in the right position to start all of these agendas, so that no one can, they've blocked all the avenues. They're all working as one cohesive entity, whether they realize it or not, because things are compartmentalized. So, there may not be complete individual knowledge that they themselves are working in what I refer to as a darkness and evil, that they are working for that, promoting a particular agenda. But it's been 40 years in the making to get people in certain places to be able to allow this to happen. On a good note, although I feel again, the learning curve of everything that's going to come down from this, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. So you have now finally people that are of prominence and prominence thinking who have now made their voices heard by not the probably the majority of the populace in the United States, but in a significant number, that now there is momentum behind people. And again, but then you have the forces of Google, of Facebook, of YouTube trying to, again, censor. Platforms are beginning to open up that will allow conversations to be had. I think one of them was, what did you put your other stuff on? The YouTube, not YouTube, new YouTube,
brand new tube.
Brand new tube.
Yeah.
But there's one also I'm hearing called Odyssey is another one where people now are taking their information if they've been censored and are moving their platforms, part of their platforms on there so that their information can get out. We're also starting to see some of these people making it more onto news channels and different things that may not be CNN or MSNBC because those are heavily controlled, but they're making it onto other ones and beginning to have these conversations. Now, unfortunately, this has been done after a significant number of the population has been vaccinated. So, and some of the information that's actually starting to come out is kind of, again, confounding and perplexing those now discussing it, because they themselves cannot understand the agenda behind what occurred in the past year, and they're questioning it. You have to get to a point of questioning it, because really, as they've been saying, we know there's another hypothesis. Well, the hypothesis that they don't want to talk about is that there could be really truth in a depopulation agenda. Could there really be truth in, the Georgia Guidestones? Could there really be truth? And could it really be so insidious and so whatever? That's definitely a hypothesis. They're not even willing to actually go there, because who in their right mind would want, as a decent human being, to go there? Who would want to think it? Who would want to think all of this stuff really could be a part of it? But they're questioning, and that's really, really important. I'll give you, some examples of things that are really highly being questioned now that make no sense. So you have, in consideration of your population as a whole, what is called public health. Okay, in general, what is good for the public health? You also think, again, what is good in general for, you say public health, but longevity of the race. I'm meaning humanity as a race overall. Okay, what is good for the longevity and health of that? Some of these questions going on. And so, one of the long-standing held beliefs is that, we must protect and we must, facilitate and do our best with our children, which are the next coming up, and the children after that coming up, that are going to sustain the humanity race. And then when you think of public health as a whole, and you get into the area of illness, and you get into the area of, could a cure be worse than the disease? You have in the United States such things as the FDA and whatever, whose partly their task is to try to decide, is the cure worse than the disease, right? As people try to develop things, which historically, up until years ago, people thought was more of a, genuine caring for the people. Now, all of this is becoming in question and agendas. So, for example, one of the interesting things that happens with medications, with vaccines, with different things, is the reporting of adverse reactions. It is actually has been a longstanding law in this United States that there will be reporting of these reactions. And one of the entities that is responsible, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA. Okay, they're the ones who put this into. We need to monitor what are the public and people doing? What are they taking? Are there adverse reactions? Do we need to look at something for the public's health as a whole? One of the things that actually occurred during this that is perplexing so many people, so many good, decent people, is the fact that OSHA suspended that reporting requirement for 2 years due to not wanting to interfere in the administration of vaccines, in these vaccines, even though, again, these vaccines are extremely experimental. Okay. And so here you have the reporting authority now saying, we don't care if you report. It's okay. Don't report. Don't report. Just get the vaccines out. Don't report, which makes 0 sense on something that is brand new when you're trying to make a judgment. Is it of safety to the public as a whole? So that is one of the most perplexing things now that is going on. So what you actually have going on in the reporting system is voluntary reporting, not expectation of reporting. So right then and there is a question of the huge underestimation of reporting that's going on. So, and also there are unfortunately rumors circulating that doctors that have chosen to keep reporting by keeping up with their patients and finding out what's going on, if they talk openly about what they're seeing, are potentially being censored, especially if it is something that is potentially going to impede in the vaccinations. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is kind of, again, something that the scientists, that the epidemiologists, that people are looking at going, what is going on? This makes no sense for public health as a whole. So that's one thing. Now studies are actually being done that I think are very, very important to also look at. One was not done in the United States, it was done in Israel. And Israel actually doesn't have nearly the population of the United States and went full bore on vaccination. And again, without an enormously huge resistance from its population. I'm not making any judgment on that. I just want you to say that you now have the data coming forth from a country that was very successful in vaccinating a ton of people. So within that becomes feedback data from epidemiologists and people studying this that also then give them an idea of what's going on with the vaccines and the risk ratios of, is it worthwhile? Do we really feel it protected the public as a whole? What's really going on? So the Israeli study that actually, again, came out and really captured only the eyes of people who truly are looking at public health. What the bottom line, and I'm going to just do this in such a layman's terms to give you an idea. Basically, when they studied everything, and then again, they were following people closely. They were following people who potentially were having adverse reaction potentials to the vaccine and what was going on. Their study actually found that in order to save 3 lives, 2 other lives died. Okay? In order to save 3 lives. Now, in general, you could hypothesize, who were the 3 lives? Well, the 3 lives were the people that were most at risk. So again, I don't want to I am generalizing a little bit, but I'm just trying to give you an idea. When you think about the most highest people at risk, you're talking about, of course, the elderly that are the most highest at risk. The 2 people that died were young people, okay? The 2 people that died. And what seemed to be also in evident is that the people that died, the two people that died, would have most likely, if they caught the COVID, would have easily surfed through it. Okay. So now you have a dynamic that is actually running against the normal thought process of saving the race as a whole. Now you have in this dynamic saving 3 elderly by sacrificing 2 younger. And it goes against those in general principles that were adapted. So the bottom line with the Israeli study is they were like, hello, this should be of great concern, we think. You need to look at this. And that was the bottom line of their study. And again, so you have a lot now of people who are true scientists, true epidemiologists, true public health officials that are looking at this going, none of this is making sense unless your agenda was to force out a vaccine at all costs, no matter what. Then it makes sense because you're going to disregard any of the safety features to watch an experimental vaccine. You're just going to put it out there. And this again is when they're, saying, their hearts of heart, their discernment, their hearts are telling them there's something else. We know another hypothesis. We believe there is one, but we can't come up with it because it is too hard, honestly, to go there. It is too hard. However, what is happening right now is that very good people are being faced in their face with data that is hard to ignore and trying to now have these conversations. So I say this because, again, I know that, and these people are beginning to push back. One of the things as well being spread that is driving these epidemiologists that are, again, good, caring people is this whole conversation of the Delta variant right now. Because the Delta variant, all that really is saying is that, yes, it may spread a little bit easier. However, who's getting it? It seems to be young people are getting it more. Well, what are they coming down with? Are they dying? No one's dying. It's just that they're getting it. And, some, again, may be asymptomatic, or they may have like a mild cold. Nothing serious. There's no deaths. So now you have, again, something that's being utilized to perpetuate vaccine. Now vaccine in younger. And you're not being given the truth of the data on the epidemiology of this variant. They're not saying, no one's saying, have you ever heard anyone say with the Delta variant that it's killing all these people? Because they're not. They're going to leave that to your imagination. That the only reason they're bringing it up is because it must be killing a lot of people.
Yeah, because
they're not saying it.
This is where discernment comes in, because it's killing no one. It's because they put an epic term out there, such as Delta variant, which sounds like an 80s sci-fi movie of some kind, like the Omega Factor or something like that. And they put some epic terminology on there. They put that terminology out there, and the rest of the people assume that it's killing people by the millions, and they're the ones fueling the fear.
Right, and so it's intentional, but again, it's the, let's say, I'm going to just say decent because I don't know what other word to say. The decent scientists, the decent epidemiologists, the decent ones are like, what the heck is going on? And so especially now, since again, the difference between now and last year is now there is more mainstream acceptance. Even the people who didn't want to approve it, it's too far gone now. Their vaccines are out. So they're going to yield now and say, yeah, these treatments did actually work.
And also with these scientists, on the play devil's advocate here, these scientists that are saying, well, we don't know what's going on. Really? You don't know that your own government is putting a bunch of propaganda out there, that your own human race has been lying to people. It's so unfathomable to them that it becomes a bias, becomes so unbelievably horrific that they don't understand that their very own people are the ones doing this.
Well,
Yeah.
that they are starting to realize that there's a true agenda. And again, it's going to first be blamed on the pharmaceuticals, somehow a money issue where money became more important. Although it's you'd rather people believe it was just a money issue than the true issue.
Yeah, that's a bunch of Nazis creating a bunch of depopulation tactics and a bunch of what things of that nature. Yeah.
So I guess my point is, people are becoming aware, and they are now gaining a voice to question, to push back. I know it didn't. I get it didn't happen quick enough. I get there were people that so saw the negative agenda, could see it coming, could see the way coming, and wanted it stopped. It didn't stop. It somewhat occurred. Unfortunately, like we say about a lobster, sometimes there has to be a lot of pressure for that lobster to want to break through its shell and grow. And, it is hard because humanity as a whole has to come to certain realizations to then say no. And you want to think that it's just the few, that, another mythos, it only takes 10 people of 100,000 to make this massive. Well, really, I'm sure you can all gather 10 people. And so there is something bigger, also going on to helping, need the need for people in general to wake up. So if you feel that you may have the pulse of things much quicker going on, this should be probably horrifically frustrating for you right now, and potentially painful as you feel the confusion, as you feel the fear, as you feel all of this other stuff now going into society. So it's real, it's happening. And then on top of that, again, the craziness and the planned distractions going on in the political arena. And I really say planned distractions, so you don't keep your eye on the ball. Because if they can split you trying to keep up with 50,000 stains instead of focusing on one, they're going to get you. So I must applaud the parents and the people that are only focusing on their schools. That's what they need to do, stay in their lane and only focus on the schools. Only focus on the schools. They may be upset about this, but their energies are at the schools because there's so many distractions, so many things to choose from. You really have to choose to really focus on one area, or not too many, in order to really be able to, with where we are in our co-creative skills, to really make a good dent. So, I applaud the parents that are really focused on that. Personally, in my opinion, that's really where they should be, extremely focused, as well as some of those same parents are the ones that aren't vaccinating their kids. They're smart and they need to continue with that as well. So it's very, very important. But the distractions that are going on in the political arena, the playette that's playing out, for many of you, you're starting to see the hypocrisy in the players. You've been seeing it for a while, and it's becoming more and more and more evident. So I think, again, understand it is a playette. Understand that that is actually what really is going on, to really distract you, to have you so frustrated about so many different things. Now you're just living in a frustration bubble. And you're not able to really kind of focus and move your energies forward. This chaos soup is intentional. And so you have to really know that. And then again, you have just things that may, get at you in your own heart. One of them, I guess I'll bring up now because I believe although we started with humor, I guess you could say it's both sides of the coin in humor. I think humor is great.
Humor is great, but then you also have its misusage, like what the
Correct.
government likes to do when it comes to ridicule and defaming.
Correct. So my thought is, again, helping to remind people, how do you use humor in a way that is not giving something power that you don't want to have power? Again, they're doing it in their way, not to give power to something, to kind of diminish a group of people or something, a subject matter, to keep control. Well, can't you use some of that too? So one of the things that just happened in the last few days, and I think it really, again, they're tricks that they've been doing and using people, whether they realize or not, they're part of it. Again, sometimes people don't realize they're a part of something. Happened during the Olympic trials. And it was just recently with a woman who is Black, who won third place in the hammer throw and threw a bitch fit, basically, over the fact that the national anthem happened to be playing while she was on the stand, getting her award for third place for the Olympic trials. And she was beside herself because she felt somehow this was done intentionally, that basically she didn't want to hear the national anthem. She doesn't really care. She turned her back against, the US flag. And this for some reason is really getting to people, because this, again, when you start to invade sports and then start to invade things that normally are unifying, and then you start splitting all that apart, people didn't realize, I think for years they began doing that and politicizing, which took the joy right out of some of these sports. Now people are actually beginning to see it for what it is. Whether or not this individual person realizes that she's kind of a tool for something else or not, I doubt it. But, what do you do with that? Do you accept and say, this is the way it's going to be? Many people are saying, that if you really don't care for this country, you shouldn't be allowed to be in the Olympics representing the country. Mm-hmm. Just kind of a logical statement. I am, in a sense, I'm happy this conversation's going on. It's another thing, yes, but it provides an opportunity for awareness, because again, this woman may be Black, she may be mad, felt like her life was unfair, but hello, she's been being trained to be in the Olympics. I don't think you and I can actually fathom that her life has been horrific.
Aside from,
what I mean, in that training program. Do you see what I mean? It's like, really, your life's been that bad? You're training to be an elite athlete to go into the Olympics, unless for some reason you have been beaten your whole life and you never wanted to be in the Olympics, and you've been completely, obliterated to doing something you don't want to do, which then all of the people would be behind you. Tell that story. That doesn't seem to be the story. So the story is someone who is actually put on a path of success, now claiming they're somehow a victim.
Yes, and they're the only way they were ever victimized was by getting the programming put in their head that they were always being victimized. The facilities you've heard me talk about, where these people are trained and programmed and put back out there in a similar way. And it's in the same type of scenario. These people were trained to be a public spectacle like that, to cause a big distraction like this, and to always say they were the underdog and they were downtrodden. Last I looked, a majority of the people I know, and all the people I know, in fact, are not trained U.S. athletes for the Olympics. Okay, come on. You're in a pretty good position.
I'm sure they're not eating horribly.
No, they're not eating horribly.
I'm sure they're getting sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
I doubt that, that hopefully they're not being beaten or,
No,
you know,
and then
tortured.
from those pictures of that person didn't look like she was getting beat horribly, you know,
But-
so come on.
So, okay, so now, again, we've been talking about a bunch of things serious. If you didn't, if you feel that you know me a little bit, I'm telling you, as serious as I am about this, I also, I love to laugh. And especially I love to laugh at things that I'm not buying to take seriously.
Yes.
Okay. You can say whatever you want. I'll sit there, may not say a thing, but my mind may be doing something else. So I'm going to share with you my coping skills on things like this. And once I was laughing so hard, I couldn't even get it out with Chris. And when I finally did,
How about we just screen share?
He's like, you can't, get this out of your head. Okay, so let's go for it. So let's first show again the picture of her standing on the podium. It's very important.
Okay, hammer throw. That would be
this picture.
This one right here.
Okay, so this is the moment.
Right,
everyone's seen this. She is now not facing the flag, throwing a little tantrum. And then there's another shot of her with her, shroud over her face, which is my preferred way of seeing her because I really give her no power then. But this is important. And again, the sad thing about it is she's taking away from the people who run first and second place with her little narcissistic, no offense, she wasn't caring. This isn't team caring about any of those people. Her very narcissistic. They only played the national anthem because I'm standing here, narcissism, and all of her stuff. And as I'm looking at this picture, there's only one thing going through my mind.
Okay, now I'm going to go here, and you guys are about to laugh. And yes, I'm going to make a meme about this at some point, and you cannot unsee this when you see this. Tim Curry from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
There you go. So all I could think is, man, she would win the Tim Curry lookalike contest.
Sorry, Tim, but you got to admit they're pretty close.
Rocky Horror. I'm telling you, can't you guys see it?
I'll go back to this one to see right here.
Right here.
And go back to that.
I'm sorry. So this is all I could think about. So to me, it's like, man, she, maybe she rocked it. Maybe she saw it a lot. She saw how he walked. She saw how he did whatever. And man, she just channeled Tim Curry in Rocky Horror Picture Show, in my humble opinion, But again, so I don't take her serious. So she can have whatever. But to me, it's like,
This is how, with the good side of humor, this is how you diffuse it, is right here. Just like you've heard me say in my book, I'm writing about the Nazis that were in outer space, where the two Nazis, I named them Hans and Franz, just to take away their credibility. This is still the same type of magic right here, where you are taking somebody who's a tit baby right here and turning them into something humorous.
Right.
And imagine this is a meme, because I will do this, folks. I'm going to put them side by side. You're going to see this pop up in the not too distant future.
So again, again, I'm not saying this person, knows the bigger level, because again, this is energy. This is truly about the energy and the impact of your energy onto something else. Now, and so you have a choice of how you choose to use your energy in reaction to something else. You really do. People are feeling so helpless right now and so hopeless and so worn out, and I get it. But again, it becomes a choice of how you utilize your energy and what are you giving power to. So you have to remember that those personal declarations that it will not be because I said so, it's not a little deal, but you have to truly believe it. You have to see the end where it didn't occur. You have to see the awakening process where people are beginning to question on a very high level, what is the true theory of what is going on here? And it is difficult. And I'm sorry, again, that it may not be running the course as quick as we would like, because again, it can hurt. So the bad news about this literally is that the pressure of feeling so much from for other people can literally hurt. And I am not unacknowledging that. However, what I am trying to say is that you have to really search your soul to say, did I come in knowing that? Did I come in knowing that I was going to, be trying to utilize my energies in a way that I was going to get pushback or feel things? And then what would my choice be? To completely back out, to push forward anyway, to find a way to maneuver within it? How are you going to cope effectively? Meaning, if it is your heart's desire and your soul's desire that you will persevere through this in a positive way, because not everybody is going to make it through in a positive way. Some people are going to backtrack, you would say. Some people are going to fall aside. And again, I'm not judging. This isn't about judgment. This isn't about judgment at all. This is just trying to give you food for thought, because again, it goes all the way back now to who are you? Who are you? And what is your soul telling you you are here to do and you are wanting to do if you feel you are in service to humanity for everyone's highest good? We were all fed the cereal of the lies. Now you're seeing it. Now you're seeing things play out before you. We're desperately trying to show you the tactics that are being used, but knowledge is power. So now what you choose to do from this moment, knowledge being power, is that you may have to continue to shed the mythos that you've allowed to now be created in your own mind so that you can bring forth what you want to bring forth. Because I have to tell you, the only thing, not that I plan on having a tombstone, but if I had a tombstone, there was only one word I want on my tombstone, and it is fulfilled. I do not want to go through this lifetime not being fulfilled in what I wanted to come in and actually bring forth to help in service to humanity as a whole. That is my personal driving force. And I'm not leaving here until that is done. So if you guys find out I'm no longer here, that was done. There is no exception. If I live a long life, I will not leave here until it is done. And, making again my moves, my curves, my ownership of how do I bring this forth in the chaos soup that we're in, because it will not be like this. It's going to be flowing again with a river, trying to find a way to keep balance and serenity to allow me to do what I need to do. And some of that, again, is deciphering what are still mythos in your own head. So you, again, we do this on Patreon so we can really genuinely be ourselves. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't want to hear this. They're not interested. They still want the savior. They still want this other to occur. They want the world to revolve around them in a sense, that it's about my comfort, not society's as a whole. They're all hurting me, so I hate them all. Mine, without really doing some self-study that you may have put yourself here to challenge yourself, to still raise frequency in the uncomfortableness of it all. So you have to search yourself on that, your own self. What is my function? And believe me, it's becoming hard. Chris and I actually were at a fair this weekend, and we were exposed to some things that, believe it or not, the fair was Saturday, and Chris nor I had the wherewithal to communicate with each other about our feelings until Sunday night, because I think we were both internally struggling with our feelings of what we were exposed to. Mm-hmm. And it took us some time to get to the point to be brave enough, because the feelings that we're having about certain people, about certain things, were conflicting. I'm seeing something good, but I'm feeling something really bad too.
Mhm.
I don't understand.
Like say a good product, but with other influences at play. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and so again, potentially seeing the beginning of a corruption.
And the beginning of a corruption or some kind of viral infection into something good. And this is something for me personally is intolerable. I know it's happened multiple times in history and happened with multiple organizations in multiple places, multiple times. But I don't believe that it always has to remain that way. And I believe it can be reversed.
Now, when you're dealing with people that are to the last breath, they're going to continue. So it's these attempts to infiltrate, these attempts to corrupt, it will, when you're dealing with people to the last breath, it is that's exactly what it means. But then when you now knowingly, and I say this again to you guys because you may be seeing this as well, what is your role and responsibility in that? Part of it is just the awareness so that you know what to not get entangled with, okay? Not to lend your energies to. And it may drive you to, again, forge alliances with those that you really feel that you're going to do it without hesitation or without regret, to say, I know what this looks like on the surface. I get it. It looks pretty, but every ounce of me is telling that it's not going to stay that way. And when to walk away from something, to not give your energies to it, which is the key, to be able to now say, but this is good and so understated, and I'm going to lend my energies here and promote something like this instead. Less able to be corrupted, more pure, even though it's simpler, even though it's not got the bang and flash, even though, and so to make these choices, you know what I mean, in your life that will then join you up with things that are more in line. And so again, your discernment has to be solid. You can't have a wavering discernment, which is why it took us so long to talk about it, because we were torn. Each one of us were torn on what we had come across. And then we had both on our own decided that the discernment wasn't solid in a positive way, that was.
Yes, if there's any doubt
That was
in
good
there, if there's any doubt as to the intentions of someone or something, then there's a malevolence at play there.
Or just again, at that moment in time,
at that moment in time,
you really have to be solid with what you would call positive, this is good for me discernment. And doubt, you err on the side that it's not good for you at this time. It's just not, and it may never be, or it may be later, but it may never be. And you have to be okay with that, no matter what it looks like potentially just on the surface. And we had both honestly, independently spent time with ourselves, I think, mulling it over. And I think each one of us had come to the same conclusion, but confident in it was almost like, truly, it was almost like, okay, I am ready to tell Chris no. And Chris is like, okay, I am ready to squash this. But then we both agreed. And so we had spent the time with ourselves, again, trusting that our personal self would, come up. And then we ended up being aligned. And so I say that as well, because yes, sometimes you do need to spend some time to yourself, not wanting someone else to convince you or not convince you, and vice versa. So sometimes you have to spend just time to yourself, and you really, again, trust the most important person in your life, which is yourself first. And most of the time, I will say, the vast majority of the time, we do end up completely agreeing.
Yes, yeah, with this, I won't go into the extreme details, but suffice it to say, something that we thought was well, it still is positive, but there's also been some infiltration there that has to be dealt with. And it's not something that I wanted to find. I believe we were directed to find it. We knew, well, like somebody knew we would run across us or aided in running across something so that we could see what was like in our midst.
It's truly unimportant what it is, because this type of what we're talking about
It's kind of,
is the strategy
Yeah.
of what occurs. It's not important for us to get into the nitty-gritty details of what. It really isn't, because you will be struggling with these things too. And so we've said for years now, infiltration occurs. Infiltration has occurred and all that. So no. So I know people love to get caught up in the dirty details. The dirty details are not important.
no,
What's important is how you end up running across these things, and then how there's an internal struggle of trying to understand something that seems one way, but there's still doubt in your mind, and you don't even know where that's coming from. And then you have to take some time, and then you end up having to truly just go with the bottom line of how you're feeling and be okay with it. And again, in this instance, the outcome is don't give your energies to it. For us not to give our energies to it. I don't think it is our job to correct all of these infiltrations that we see. It's not. It's actually not. Because again, you are going to have groups of people that are perfectly fine with it being involved, experiencing it. And then you're going to have people that are not. The goal now again is to find more and more like-minded people that again are potentially in a more similar frequency vibration as yourself. And so you will end up still having to let go of things that, may not make sense to you. You may find that people get frustrated with you in that arena, but you don't owe any apology. You don't owe anything. You're just making a choice of what you feel is best for yourself, and you just move on, which then opens doors potentially for other people and other things to come into that you will find you feel more in alignment with. And in me, that's what I actually call success. Getting out of the, most people wrap around finances around success. But to me, in what most of us are trying to talk about, this is success. Being able to maneuver through it, to gather the more like-minded people, to be able to find them, to be able to move forward in a similar fashion. That right now, you can't take your money with you when you die, but you can certainly take this other and these experience and these growths and these new codexes and these new energies that will go with you.
Yes. And yeah, we have toyed with, we won't, like I said, go into the nitty-gritty details, but we are toying with some things that if they come to fruition, we will be more than happy to share them. So I think this is a good stopping point.
Yeah. So we just wanted to get on, talk to you about the true struggles that are going on, maybe some of the confusions, maybe some of the things, but again, keep looking inside. Why am I here and what am I here to do? What is it? And if it's an energetic contribution, energetic contributions can be huge by doing small things, just being kind, just vibrating that, just doing what you can do in your energetics and not let all the riffraff then to tear it away from you, and understand that, the smallest of contributions can set forth a big wave. And just remember that.
Yes. So thank you everybody for listening to this discussion with me and Joanna, and subscribing to our Patreon channel or to wherever this video will end up in subscription form. So thank you everybody. Bye-bye.